If there's one thing I've learned from horror movies, if you walk into a house and the lights are low and somebody is cutting meat, you're gonna die. Cool kids of the internet, what's going on? Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today we are doing our Patreon pick. Now it's a little later than normal because we had to go to one video a month for this month because there was a crazy ton going on. But I'm excited about this one. So if you don't know, here on the Cardivox Academy YouTube channel, we take the reaction format, we break it down, we make it educational with a focus on vocals. I myself am a metal vocalist in 3 bands, Kardashev, Neverbreath, and Viremia. I'm also a vocal coach, specializing in all of this kind of stuff. Death metal, deathcore, distorted, gritty vocals, even some singing as well. And we have a Patreon where once a month they get to nominate and vote on a song. Now, sometimes they pick songs I've heard before. In this case, Second Death, Black Tongue. And I'm excited about it because Alex Teyen is a great vocalist, very expressive. I think he storytells with his voice very well. So I'm excited to talk about that a little bit. And also, you can't listen to Black Tongue without jamming out. I think that they do like slow, blackened deathcore, whatever the genre would be, down-tempo deliciousness. I think they do better than anybody else in their respective place. Now, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to this guy, especially since we're getting close to that 100,000 subscriber mark, and I'm very excited about that. If you want to check out the Patreon, you're more than welcome to, but mostly I just appreciate you taking some time to jam out to Black Tongue, Second Death, with me here on this fine Sunday. So, that being said, let's get into it. Let's go ahead and go for it. So this is our first place where we can really get some good conversation going. So as I said before, we make the reaction format fun, we pause it, we make it educational. So let's talk about what we have going here. This is precisely some of the storytelling that I was talking about, and precisely why I think Alex is such a good vocalist. At the beginning, we have this very emotional, very belted, very forward, gritty, false chord driven sound, right? And when you take this apart, it sounds really, really goofy. So what I hear is kind of 3 things going on, right? We have the bass level phonation underneath it. Now, normally when we're doing false chord vocals, we want to avoid any unnecessary true chord adduction going on during the process. And so adduction, if you're unaware, basically just means being brought to the center line, being brought together in the center line, right? Versus abduction, which is brought away. And so if our vocal folds are touching, we get that right there. Hey, yeah, right? Vocal fold adduction, true chord phonation, right? Phonation being speech sounds. Now, that being said, we definitely hear some speech sound going on under there. And if we take the distort, and if you listen to it, it doesn't sound like his speaking voice, right? He's not just talking, maggot, you will squirm, you will squirm. He's also not just like yelling, maggot, you will squirm, right? It's not that. There's something different going on here. And it's a very silly, voice breaky, kind of almost Disney cartoon sound. Maggot, you will squirm, hey, right? Literally, that's what's going on underneath. And then we put a very light false chord grunt, hey, maggot, you will squirm, right? He's got an extra layer of grit though. And so he's kind of combining, at least to what I hear, ooh, I am clipping, heyo. Well, I'll have to lean back a little bit more. But he's combining those 2 things with a little bit of
Maggot, you will squirm! Maggot, you will squirm! You will squirm!
And we're getting kind of that effect. It's very spoken word. It's very easy to do as long as you just stay relaxed and you know how to do these three things separately. Right? Put them together.
Maggot, you will squirm!
And then he's playing around with the placement all the way through. And it sounds sick. Now, I will say that this is kind of a slightly breathier tone. Even though when we're using our true chords, we tend to not use as much air if we're doing things properly. But it also, that being said, also whenever we're using our false chords or doing false chord vocals, we're not going to be able to hold out our phonation as long as we would with a fry or a true chord tone, right? So that being said, you really need to have some good breath support. Make sure you're breathing low into your gut. You can't literally breathe into your stomach. It's a sensation. Make sure you're breathing low. You're grounded in your support. Even like bend your knees a little bit, right? Bend your knees a little bit. Hold your ribs out. When you breathe in, expand those ribs. Engage the abdominal muscles. Hey. Hold the ribs out. It's going to go a long way for you. Let's go a little bit back and listen to this transition. Because as I said, sometimes it's fun to do songs I've heard before because I know when the goodness is coming. And this whole song is nonstop goodness. So let's go. So there's more good stuff to talk about there. So, one thing that I think a lot of people hear, because a lot of people are like, oh, it sounds the same. It's always so maximal. They'll say, the reason I don't like songs that are all screaming is because it's nonstop, like maximum impact. And that is true. But if you know what to listen for, you can find a lot of nuance. So everything he did there, everything was based on like a false chord mid-ish, right? But he did so many cool things with tongue placement, opening up the tone, changing the balance, that if you're a fan of metal vocals and you've listened to them, so you've kind of been able to learn how to hear them, right? Which is not like some deep-seated skill. That kind of happens the more you expose yourself to any new type of art, the more depth you see in it, right? That's true for anyone in any type of art, really. But if you know how these sounds are produced, you can kind of hear what's going on. So he moved away from that. He moved away from that balance, mostly just towards this. Dropped it down with his resonance. He even does this really cool thing. I think he does it later in the song. It's admittedly been a while since I did this. One of my students loved Black Tongue, and we worked a lot on these songs. But anyway. But pulling the tongue really far back, that's kind of the fun thing with metal vocals, right? Is we have less rules than clean singing. Like in clean singing, there are straight up bad tongue positions. In metal, as long as you sound cool and most importantly, you are safe, do whatever the heck you want, right? So he kind of has this like really nasally, right? And he's just pulling the tongue back. He's a little bit more projected and open than I am, but it sounds really sick. I think he does it later, so we'll just keep going. But just listen to all the different nuance he puts on his voice, right? Open, relaxed throat, tongue, breath support. So we heard two cool things right there. Also, by the way, if there's one thing I've learned from horror movies, if you walk into a house and the lights are low and somebody is cutting meat, you're gonna die. Like, yo, go to your friend's house. If their mom or dad or partner or whoever, roommate is in the kitchen looking down and they've got the lights super dim and they're chopping a steak, just go. Just look at them, say, hey, I've seen this movie before. I'm getting the fuck out of here. No, thank you. Right? Anyway, so yeah, even right there, we hear all these cool different nuances. He did this really cool thing where he had this like sort of properly held back scream that he sort of slid into a tunnel. I really appreciate that. That's the only tunnel we've heard so far. I love tunnels, but boy, howdy, we hear them a lot. He was kind of back here, slid into it. That was really sick. I'm not going to go try to find it again because it was really quick and I have no idea where it was. Then he got to this like new level of low that he hasn't done in the song before. Very, very smart, right? It sounded to me like he may have increased airflow to help him get a little bit lower. Could be wrong on that. That sort of thing can be kind of hard to hear unless you're listening to like the stems themselves. But like he took his low, tilted it down, not tilting your head, thinking about the resonance coming down through the like bottom of the mouth, right? So he's here. And if I breathe a little bit of extra air through there, right? If I take that, because when I'm doing this, I don't actually feel any airflow on my hand. It feels warm, right? But I'm not pushing, like I'm not. But what if I do that on purpose, right? So here's before, here's after. You can hear I'm kind of blowing on the mic a little bit. Right? That actually can help bring the tone a little bit lower. And it's something that you see in a lot of vocalists who people are like, oh man, how are they making these crazy sounds? They purposefully, and you can see it on the syllables sometimes. Right? So that's something to think about. Anyways, let's keep going. I can't see, my cup's in the way. My mark cup. This is good because if I ever forget who I am, I'm just like, oh yeah, so I'm taking a drink. Oh yeah, cool. Almost forgot. Here we go. Oh yeah. I want to talk about the highs here, and I want to talk about it at the very end. I promise I'll keep it brief. We pause a lot on this channel. We pause a lot because we're vocal nerds. But, so these highs, we're going to access them with resonance, okay? We're not going to take our low and try to pull that up. It's going to sound like that, right? We're going to be here. Hey, hey, hey. Right? Now you can hear him actually kind of tilt the high forward, snarling around it. This face that a bunch of vocalists make, it actually really helps. You're pulling your lips away, exposing your teeth, getting a brighter sound from that action, right? And you're scrunching up the face, kind of helping activate that that nasal sphincter. Now, a lot of our control of our resonance, in fact, the most of it is actually the back of our tongue, right? So it's not like I'm doing these weird muscle manipulations inside of my nose, right? Although, pulling your face out of the way, changing the density of things, you can hear that minor difference, right? Lips, two together, hear how it gets brighter and kind of pingier? If I do that with my highs, everything is pain, right? Kind of creates a cool sound. And you can hear him sort of tighten up the vowel and tilt it forward. Really, really cool stuff. Right here. Agony. He says agony. On the waves of agony. Very cool.
Beckoning a darkness you
Oh!
have shed. The only reality is pain. I want you all to suffer as I have suffered.
Here it goes.
I want you all to suffer.
Leaves a gritty feeling in your teeth. I never noticed that at the end here, he's screaming through clenched teeth. I never put that together. I've heard this song before, clearly, right? I've never noticed that. Let me find that again. That was wild. So he's doing a very similar vocal style to the front of the song, although he's removed some of that. So he's keeping it a bit higher, a little bit brighter. And he has it through like these grit teeth, and that is some cool stuff. Oh, I didn't go far enough back at all. Here we go.
Beckoning a darkness you all have. Hey, beckoning a darkness you all.
Yeah, so one thing that if you're an aspiring vocalist, if you're like, man, I really want to do vocals, this is something I really want to do. One thing that can be helpful is teaching yourself to see sounds. Okay, this sounds like I'm talking about some Hooby Scooby stuff. Let me clarify. We all know what different vowels look like. Like if you think about a different vowel that I'm making, but I'm going to make it silently, you'll hear it in your head. Right? I said ooh, E. Think about the mouth shape. Kind of remove yourself from like the emotional enjoyment of the song, which I know isn't a whole lot of fun, but that's really a great way to be analytical, is to turn off the emotional enjoyment for a while and listen to it very, very critically, or pragmatically, maybe I should say. But think about the shape of the mouth. So we can hear him pulling not only through grit teeth, pulling the lips back. Now just watch. He's gonna be like, actually, I did none of that. And I'll say, whoops. But I'm pretty confident. We're here.
Beckoning the darkness you all.
And the thing is, the way that I'm compensating for that, right? Because we know, if any of my students are watching this, which I'm sure at least a couple of you are, you're going to be like, now, wait a minute, Mark. You're always telling me to open my mouth to be able to fit 2 fingers between my teeth. What the heck is this about? Well, he is clearly opening the back a lot to kind of compensate for the smaller space here. So you can actually hear me do it. So if I keep it closed, so like I'm not raising the soft palate, I'm not opening up the pharyngeal space, there's no relaxation at the top of the throat, right? It's going to sound right? Now,
beckoning you all is a spa. Beckoning you all.
You can kind of hear it open up a little bit more. And then, God, we're going to listen to the whole outro again. Seriously, this might sound bad, but maybe my favorite part of the song is that small section where it's just like, da-dum, da-dum, ba-dum, da. I could listen to 5 minutes of that. Maybe I'm nuts. Literally, if that part was 5 minutes long, I would still give this song a 10 out of 10. It gets a 10 out of 10 anyway, but like that, just that bottom. I really love music that pulls me into like forces me into a very meditative state. I really like very pulsing rhythmic music, which is probably why I, outside of metal, really like EDM. Let's go.
The only reality is pain. I want you all to suffer as I have suffered. I want you all to suffer.
I could have even taken another 2 minutes of that. Am I nuts? Like, am I crazy? Like, would you want to hear 5 minutes of that pulsing and then like 3 more minutes of him just being like, suffer, suffer? I would. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'm just a glutton. Well, that part was to say. Anyways, all right, so that was Second Death by Black Tongue. I think that's the second, maybe third Black Tongue. I know we did Parting Soliloquy on the channel. We might have done one more. My memory fails me. But Nadir is such a good album. I might be saying it wrong, but it's such a quintessential album that I think more people, if you haven't checked it out, like seriously, the whole thing is just utter and nonstop brutality, but in such a reserved and subtle way, which is kind of a strange thing to say about deathcore, right? Because deathcore and death metal, they're very maximal styles. But if you can take a very maximal style, you know, and make it delicate and subtle, like this song does and like the album does, like that is, to me, for my preferences, that is an extremely skillful thing to do. And I think Black Tongue does it really, really well. I'd love to hear other down-tempo deathcore bands. And if they're not deathcore, my apologies. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Genres are a thing. But anyways, thank you for hanging out. Thank you to all my patrons who who suggested this video. I had a great time doing it. Thank you to everybody. You know, it's just wonderful that we all get to hang out on these Sundays and listen to this music together. If you are looking for lessons, if you want some help making these types of noises or similar noises, really anything distorted, anything textured and gritty, I'd be happy to help you out. Send me an email in the comment send me an email at the address in the description below. And beyond that, as I always say, many thanks, much love. I'm out.